Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. This is a special day, and this is a special video. I'm going to be telling you a story. The story of how I met one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, Wong Kar-wai. The reason I'm making this video now, today is January 4th, 2024, as I'm recording this. I don't know when this video exactly is going to go up, but on January 5th, of 2014. So 10 years ago tomorrow, I met Wong Kar-wai. And I thought it would be fun to do this video and just talk about the circumstances of how I met him and what that evening was like. And just kind of, I don't know, just like story hour with Daddy is what we're going to call this segment. Do a whole title card, Story Hour with Daddy. So let's talk about it. I'm going to give you a little bit of context, and then I'll talk about the evening itself. So in August of 2012, I moved to Los Angeles to go to film school for graduate school. I was accepted into the feature film graduate screenwriting program at Loyola Marymount University. And I moved out here with my wife I think it was like beginning of August 2012. So by January of 2014, obviously I'd been in film school for whatever, like 18 months, and I had a lot of friends in LA, and I was going to tons and tons of film screenings. And so if you're unfamiliar with like how this kind of stuff happens in mostly in LA, but I think it happens in New York too around awards season, they have these things called awards screenings that are screenings of films specifically to generate interest during the awards season. So like Golden Globes and Oscars, really. And they'll do them at theaters like the New Beverly, like the Arrow, the Egyptian, and other places like that. And oftentimes, if you know where to look, if you know the right people, if you're on the right mailing lists, you can get into a lot of these screenings either for a minimal ticket price or even for free in some cases. So in early 20, I think it was early 2014, maybe end of 2013, around that time, a friend of mine from film school forwarded me an email. It was like, hey, I don't know if you got this, but there's a free invitation going around for the screening of The Grand Master, the Wong Kar-wai film, at the New Beverly. So the New Beverly is is probably my second favorite movie theater in the world. And it is owned by Quentin Tarantino, if you don't know, which is, I'm a huge Tarantino fan, so that's very, very awesome for me. And they do like double features, and I don't know how much it is now, but they used to be $8 for when I first started going. It was like $8 for a double feature. And I've seen a lot of Hong Kong movies there. Like I've seen Eastern Condors there, and I've seen Hero Shed No Tears. I've seen The Longest Night. I've seen Snake and Eagle Shadow. I've seen, I think, The Killer. I saw once A Thief there, and I saw Reservoir Dogs there. I've seen Boogie Nights, Train Spotting, Shallow Grave. On my birthday, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, they did a Fellini double feature. Fellini also being one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. So I went to that, and I saw it was Evie Tolone and La Strada. So, and everything they show is always on film, which is really, really cool. And like the popcorn's not too expensive. And it's just like a really fun, amazing movie theater. I love going there. And so my friend was like, forwarded me this email. Matt Schlissel was the friend. So shout out to Matt Schlissel, who actually has a show, an animated show with John Hamm doing a voice in it that I can't for the life of me remember the name of, that I think either just debuted or is debuting very soon. I ran into his writing partner maybe like 6 months ago, and they were in the writing process for either the first or the second season. It hadn't come on the air yet, but I was talking to him about that. It's really, really fascinating. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So Matt Schlissel, you can look him up on IMDb. He was one of my classmates in grad school. And he forwarded me this email and was like, I know you love Wong Kar-wai, right? Because you get to know people in film school. You talk about the films that you love, and everyone knew that I loved Wong Kar-wai. I love Jackie Chan. I love Hong Kong cinema, Asian cinema, Kurosawa, like stuff like that. And so I went to, I think the email was from the Weinstein Company. I think they had sent out this email to whoever was on their email list being like, hey, we're doing a free screening of the new Wong Kar-wai film, and you have to generate awards interest, basically. And so I clicked on the link, and there were still places available, so I registered for it. And the day of the screening came, and I drove to the movie theater. parked. It was like they did like a big event, right? So like up on the marquee it said like director Wong Kar-wai, and they had food trucks outside of the theater. If I remember correctly, I was like re-looking at my notes from I actually wrote. I'll put a link in the description, or maybe I'll pin it as the top comment. I actually wrote a an article about the event for City on Fire, the website. I've written two things for them. I wrote about that, and I wrote about a screening I went to that Jackie Chan was at, a screening of Super Cop, where Jackie Chan did a Q&A. So I'll put a link to my write-up of the event so you can read like full details and everything like that. Because I was reading it back and I was like, this is pretty good. Like, did I actually write this, or did City on Fire ghostwrite it for me? Because I don't remember this being like an okay piece of writing, but it's not bad. Not to toot my own horn, but it was cool. There was like, Chinese food truck and Korean barbecue truck, and there was like beer and stuff like that. So we go in, and I'm not usually like the kind of person who like has to get a picture with celebrities or like really wants to talk to them or anything like that. I'm just happy to like, oh, because I forgot to tell you the thing that I found out when I clicked and I registered for the screening is that Wong Kar-wai was there to do a Q&A, and so was Philippe Lessord, who was the cinematographer on the film. He's a French guy, and so they were doing a Q&A after the movie. And so, but with Wong Kar-wai, I was like, I became a huge Wong Kar-wai fan in, I think, either 1999 or 2000 when I first saw Fallen Angels. And that was a movie that was hugely important to me for a lot of reasons. It was kind of this revelation when I saw that film of like, because if you don't know my kind of personal history and stuff, like I was going to high school in a very small town, it's about 8,000 people in Vermont, in like a very remote place where there's like no cities nearby and there's no access to like, a Chinatown where you can go and get movies or like any kind of culture that you can be immersed in, which is not to say that Vermont is a cultural wasteland, but it's not like living in a city or living in the suburbs. Like it's a very rural place in the middle of nowhere, right? And I watched Fallen Angels, and it occurred to me that like I could rent a movie from Hong Kong or a movie from Japan or a movie from France or any of these places, and then for 90 minutes, for 2 hours or whatever, I could go through the film. I could go and I could be in those places and see those places and meet those people and experience that culture and see those stories. And Fallen Angels was really the movie that like just fell on my head like an anvil and opened up the floodgates of like international cinema for me. And I had seen like I had seen some French movies before that and some other stuff like that, but that was really like the one, and also the one that made me want to seek out more Hong Kong cinema, because I loved Jackie Chan at that point in time. But as I've said before, I never really thought of Jackie Chan as like Hong Kong cinema. I just kind of thought of him as like an action star, right? What with that film, with Fallen Angels, I was like, man, like Hong Kong seems like this incredible place. It's so fascinating on film. Like it looks amazing. The textures of it, the way that film is shot, like the nocturnal nature of it. I just thought it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. I thought it was beautiful and brilliant. I was stunned by it. And so Wong Kar-wai is like hugely important to my life as a cinephile and a fan of Asian cinema. And so I deliberately got a seat on the aisle, because I was like, if there's any chance in hell that I could even just tell him like, thank you, I wanted, because I can bolt out of the theater if I'm right on the aisle, right? Like when the screening is over. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll have like ropes up, in front of the stage. And like when people trying to get autographs and stuff like that, they'll like usher, the filmmaker or the actor. Because I've seen a lot of like filmmaker and actor Q&As over, like, I mean, just this year, I've seen Gael Garcia Bernal, I've seen Rob Zombie, I saw John Woo. And at all of those, they had like security there and ropes and stuff like that. So you never know what's going to happen. Right. But so this screening, the kind of lights go down a little bit in the movie theater, and who appears at the front of the theater but Megan Ellison, who runs Annapurna, who is if you don't know the story behind. So Megan Ellison is the brother. She runs Annapurna Films, right? Her brother runs, if I'm not mistaken, her brother runs Skydance. The two of them are the children of Larry Ellison, who I believe is the richest man in California. And what he did was he gave each of them like this huge chunk of money and was like, this is what you get from me. Go and start a business, invest it, do whatever you want. But like, this is your inheritance. Do what you will with it. And they both started production companies for movies, right? And so Megan Ellison, dressed all in black, goes up to the front of the theater and talks about how she'd always loved Wong Kar-wai and always wanted to work with him. And he was one of like her dream filmmakers when she started Annapurna. And she was very happy to be involved with the Grandmaster and stuff like that. Lights go down, the movie screens, the movie ends. Previous to that screening, I had seen the 130-minute version of the Grandmaster. I was able to get a bootleg DVD of that at Amoeba in San Francisco when I was up in San Francisco visiting a friend. So I'd seen the longer version. So that was my first time seeing the American cut of the whatever they called it, the international. I'm not sure what the names of the different cuts are, but the shortest cut of the film. I saw that. Wong Kar-wai comes out, and the cinematographer, Wong Kar-wai, in a darkened movie theater, still wearing his sunglasses because he's amazing and that's what he does, right? And he and the cinematographer are up there with a reporter from the LA Times whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. And I even looked at the thing that I wrote for City on Fire the day after the screening. I couldn't remember the guy's name. So huge apologies to the LA Times reporter. I'm sorry, I just can't remember his name. But they talked a lot about the film, about how they worked together. It was their first film working together, obviously, because all of Wong Kar-wai's previous films had been shot by Chris Doyle. So they talked about their partnership and the way that they communicated with one another. And Wong Kar-wai talked about like the philosophy of martial arts, and he grew up on a street in Hong Kong with like lots of martial arts schools on it, and his relationship to that, and the way that he approached the film. And again, I'll put a link to the City on Fire piece because it was all fresh in my mind then. So it's easier just to go and read that and get like the details and nitty gritty of it. So anyway, Q&A ends. No security, no ropes or anything. Wong Kar-wai, cinematographer, LA Times reporter guy, they just walk out of the theater. So I'm like, all right, this is my chance. I got to do it. Like, I'm probably never going to get another chance to do this. I immediately am out of my seat. I'm the first person in the theater is out of their seat. And Matt, my friend who sent me the link for the ticket, he came with me, right? So he's sitting right next to me. So I basically just grab his shoulder and I'm like, you're coming with me because if we can get a picture, you have to take it. And I like dragged him out of the movie theater. And Wong Kar-wai is just standing there in front of the New Beverly on the street. And he's got a beer. Like a glass of beer. Not like a plastic cup. He's got like a glass of beer, sunglasses on at like 10 o'clock at night, just sipping the beer. Like there's no one around him. He's just standing there. So I was like, all right, this is my chance. So I go up to him and I don't remember what I said. Obviously, it was a decade ago, but I probably said something like, I just thank you so much. I'm a huge, huge fan of yours. And your films have meant so much to me over the years. I've been a fan since I was a teenager, like that kind of stuff, right? And I was like, do you mind if I take a picture with you? And he's like, no, not. He's very tall, by the way. If you didn't know, I know that's something that people do talk about with him, but if you didn't know, he's very tall. I mean, I'm like 5'9", 5'10", and he's like a head taller than me. So he's like, I don't know, 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Maybe taller than that. I don't know. So he leaned down a little bit and I leaned back a little bit, and my friend took a picture of us, and then he like kind of nodded and smiled like kind of enigmatically to me, took a sip of his beer, and he just left basically. Like as he was walking away, a few other people came up to him and was like, can you sign this Blu-ray, or like, do you mind if I get a picture? But most people were still kind of filtering out of the theater when he just like walked off down the street into the darkness of LA drinking his glass of beer. Who knows where he went? I don't know if he had a car someone was picking him up, if he was just like drifting away. I don't know. But it was a very Wong Kar-wai like way to leave the screening. So, but it was really like, I mean, it was a great, truly great moment for me, because honestly, probably one of my 10 favorite filmmakers of all time, and one of the most influential artists, filmmakers, creative people in my life, someone I've been a fan of for like 25 years at this point. It would have been 15 years at that point, so more than half of my life, right? Because how old? I was 31 so more than half of my life now. Not more than half of my life then, but just about half of my life at that point. Because I was 30 then. That was before my birthday. Yeah, so that it was half of my life at that point. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was great to see the movie. It was great to see him speak. And so I just, on the 10th anniversary of this having happened, I tell this story a lot, like face to face with people who find out I met Wong Kar-wai and they want to ask me about it. But I've never told this story, I don't think, like publicly, like on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that. So I thought, 10th anniversary, let's do it. And I thought this was going to be like a 5-minute video, but I got too excited and I rambled on for like 14 or 15 minutes. So I got to watch In the Mood for Love. That's where I stopped going through all the Wong Kar-wai movies and doing like reviews. And I really want to finish my Wong Kar-wai reviews and then do my ranking, even though it's like, how can you rank like the best of the best, right? It's like very, very hard. I have like five Wong Kar-wai movies that are my favorite Wong Kar-wai movies, but people have been asking me for a while. I mean, the Criterion set is what? Almost 3 years old at this point. That's how long people have been asking me to finish reviewing those movies. So, and I think that set came out around my birthday. So maybe Maybe my goal could be for my birthday this year, I'll try to finish up my Wong Kar-wai reviews, but thank you so much for watching. My name is Will. It's just a fun little story that I thought that I would tell you. Let me know in the comments, actually. I'm very, very genuinely curious to know, like, which filmmakers, actors, or if you're a musician, which musicians, like people like that who you've met who were like hugely inspirational to you, who mean a lot to you, who you just had a really wonderful experience like encountering somehow. I'd be really interested to know. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.